is issue 181, August 2026. And today we're going to be talking about the small course corrections that turn a creative practice into a creative life. And I spent quite a few years beating myself up for failed plans until the day I read Stephen Covey's comparison between pursuing a goal and flying an airplane. It made me realize that the secret to success isn't amazing willpower, which I don't have, but the willingness to constantly make tiny adjustments. Covey points out that before takeoff, the pilot has a destination and a flight plan. And crammed back in the passenger section, we think that the pilot follows a line from point A to point B. But in truth, the plane will spend most of the journey slightly off course. Wind pushes it, weather develops, turbulence happens, and conditions change. The plane still arrives because the pilot keeps making small adjustments. That idea changed the way I understood staying on course. Until then, I tended to think of progress as all or nothing. Either I was following the plan or I had failed. There was no in between. I was either on course or hopelessly lost over the Atlantic. If I wandered away from a goal, I would waste even more time feeling bad about it. And then because I'd already failed, I might as well quit. A plane doesn't turn around every time the wind nudges it off course, or we would never arrive anywhere. The pilot notices, adjusts, and continues. Once I understood that, I stopped expecting myself to follow a perfectly straight path most of the time. I could allow for diversions without abandoning the destination. Life with children guaranteed that wind and storms would happen. Sometimes I could go around the turbulence, and other times I would have to travel directly through it, but neither meant the journey was over. Recognize maintenance is not failure. All month, we have been sharpening our tools. First, we notice where creative friction lives. We recognize that when we are pressing harder than we should have to, the problem may not be laziness, failure, or lack of commitment. Something carrying the work may simply need attention. Then we looked at what those tools had already created. We reimagined our existing stories, poems, books, classes, research, and ideas as possibilities that may not have finished becoming something yet. Last week, we built our discernment. We examined the difference between information and judgment and created a checklist for questioning what our tools tell us before deciding what that information means. A tool can inform our choices, but it cannot relieve us of the responsibility to think, interpret, and decide for ourselves. And now this week, we become. This is the point where we discover that sharpening our tools was never a one-time project. We don't hone the scissors once and expect them to stay perfect. The workshop will become messy again. The final, beautifully organized folder will contain a document called Final, this one really final, please. This does not mean that our system failed, but that we are using it. Reimagine staying on course as an active practice. We tend to imagine transformation as a dramatic dividing line. Before, we were disorganized, but now we are organized. Before, we neglected our work, but now we are perfect stewards of it. Before, we struggled, but now angels sing whenever we open a spreadsheet. This is not how it works. Real transformation is usually less pretty. Becoming the writers we are meant to be doesn't mean arriving at a permanent state where we never drift again. It is learning to notice when we have drifted and knowing how to return. That changes the meaning of maintenance. Reviewing our tools doesn't mean we chose badly. Adjusting a system doesn't mean we built it incorrectly. Discovering that a platform, schedule, or process no longer serves us doesn't erase the work that it once helped us to accomplish. We're not machines executing a perfect flight plan under laboratory conditions. We are creative people moving through life's weather. Deadlines change, our bodies get tired, our families need us, platforms can alter their policies, new opportunities can appear, causing us to change course. Projects grow in directions we didn't anticipate. Sometimes a storm blows directly across the route we had carefully planned. The question is not how can we avoid ever steering off course, because we will. The question is whether we can recognize it without turning the correction into a moral crisis. Build. Create a way to return. A sustainable creative practice needs more than a destination. It needs a way to check where we are. Lucky for us, that doesn't require an elaborate dashboard capable of getting us from New York to Paris. It might be one regular question. Is the way I'm working still helping me reach the place I want to go? Personally, I'm a fan of set it and forget it. I have appointments set up on my calendar to remind me to check in with myself weekly, monthly, and quarterly. I keep notes in the description field with my wins, reminders, and goals. I have alarms set up on my phone to remind me to take care of myself physically so that I will be at my best at my desk. Drink water, eat meals, get some exercise. These are all daily reminders. If I miss them, I don't see it as failure anymore, most of the time. I didn't work out yesterday because my daughter was nearby, so we met up for coffee. Old me would have twisted into failure. Current me has learned that I get another chance tomorrow, which is now today, and I can simply be happy that we had an afternoon to chat. A check in gives us an opportunity to make one small correction before frustration becomes abandonment. We don't need to reorganize our entire creative lives every time something slips. We can update the spreadsheet, move the deadline, and ask for extra time. We can ask for help, and we can take a break to rest and recharge. And then we continue. Become. Tend what you make. Becoming a writer is not something we have to earn or announce. It shows up in our habits. It becomes obvious when we believe our work has value and begin keeping track of where it goes. It shows up to everyone when we see possibility in an old story and want to know whether its rights are available. Creators who value their attention become more careful about what is allowed to claim it. Writers who understand their own limits build room for rest, disruption, and weather. A creator with a destination can take a detour without mistaking it for defeat. This is stewardship. We are no longer only making things, we are tending what we make and helping it to continue to grow. Tending means paying attention and making adjustments while they are still small. It means caring for the work, the tools, and the person using them. The workshop will not remain perfect. It shouldn't. Creating can be a chaotic mess. Ours will accomplish many things, but while that's happening, it will accumulate scraps, experiments, abandoned plans, contracts, coffee cups, and 6 increasingly final versions of the same manuscript. The tools will need sharpening again because we are using them to build something. When that happens, we do not have to declare ourselves failures. We can notice, adjust, and continue. The goal was never to remain perfectly on course. The goal is to develop the staying power to keep returning to it. We're continuing this conversation in the Free Opportunities community so we can share what we've learned along the way. So come join us, and if you do, just say, I sent you. The question for this week is, what small course correction has helped you the most in your writing career? Let's share. Or you can just leave a comment on the Substack.